I'm Father Jim Bowler from St. Peter's Catholic Church in Charlotte, North Carolina, and I've been trying to get my head around something appropriate to say to God's people as we deal with this whole coronavirus. The first place I usually go in a situation like this is to the 11th chapter of Matthew's Gospel, where we hear Jesus say, "Come to me, all you who labor and are burdened, and I will refresh you, for my yoke is easy and my burden light." And those are words of solace. But then when we look upon how those might be lived out, it takes some reflection and some discernment. During this current crisis, I've been brought back to the life of Walter Ciszek, an American Jesuit who spent 5 years in a Russian concentration camp during World War II. And during that time, he had a tremendous devotion to the Eucharist and also a tremendous impact on so many other inmates in that prison. And as you read his reflections on those years, it was really a time of he felt God's presence with him. He felt carried by God. In Ignatian terms, we might say he was experiencing consolation. And I think that's an excellent example of those words of Jesus we just referred to. He can give us rest. During this time, you might want to use your Kindles just to get a hold of one or two of his books. One book is With God in Russia, which is more a narrative of what happened. The other one is He Leadeth Me, where it's kind of an in-depth study of his spiritual experience. I use that all as a preface as to how we might today find God in the corona epidemic that we're experiencing. There is a new ordinary, and we have to somehow adjust to it. Ignatian spirituality tells us that God is present in all things. And so in faith, we have to believe that God is here with us. The question is how to tap into that. Walter Ciszek had a great devotion to the Eucharist, in the concentration camp. And I think it's through our own Eucharistic devotion that we might be able to tap into the presence of Christ with us. First of all, not having the availability of the Eucharist helps us to deepen our appreciation of just what that nourishment means in our life. But on the other hand, most of us have been nourished at the table of the Lord for many, many years. And deep within, beginning with our baptism and nourished by the Eucharist, is the presence of Christ, a living presence that we can draw on during these days. And as we take time to draw on that presence, take time just to stop and take a long, loving look at the reality we find ourselves in and allow the Spirit of our living God to emerge in us, a certain calmness and tranquility will take over, which will make it much easier to bear with this new ordinary. Another way that we might find God during these troublesome days is through the Ignatian Examen. Most of you are aware of the power of that prayer, but when we take and apply it to these present circumstances and ask God to show us where God has been for us, at this time, we might be amazed at what is revealed. So let me close with where I began. Come to me, all you who are labor and are burdened, and I will refresh you. My yoke is easy, my burden light.